Good evening and welcome to Talk Sports, another series of program dealing with sports, speaking to the sportsmen, sportswomen, administrators. Uh, well, it's our second program for the year 2021, and this evening we will continue with the discussion, basically and some of the schools that have been blazing the trail. Last week, as you recall, we had the former principal of well, when I said last week, I mean it's Saturday, last program, which was on Saturday. We had the former principal of the St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School, SAS. This week, though, we are moving to the historical parish, and we're going a bit current because we'll be speaking with the acting principal of the MacDonald College, Mr. Carl Andall. And Mr. Andall, though teacher, principal, he has also been directly involved in sports to an extent, and has been leading the charge for MacDonald College in terms of their participation in sports. So what we'll be doing this week, and this program in particular, is to hear from Mr. Andall the preparations and some of the challenges, not just with MacDonald College, because it will be across the board, but some of the secondary schools and some of the challenges they are facing, no doubt, in terms of the 2021 sports season. As you know, 2019, 2020, they had their own problems. 2020 in particular with COVID, but before that we had the issues with the teachers, the unions and the ministries, etc., etc. But we'll hear from Mr. Andall what's on the burner, what is taking place. So let me welcome Mr. Andall to our program. It's not the first time, though. Mr. Andall has been on the program. He has been a few months ago. He was on the program as a special guest. Good evening to you, Mr. Andall, and welcome to Talk Sports.
Good evening, Mr. Bascom, and evening, all listeners.
Well, it's nice having you, and as I indicated, we'll be trying to find out from you all that's been happening in terms of sports, not just for MacDonald College, but particularly for secondary schools. We know what had transpired due to the pandemic in 2020, but 2021, though it appears, will be coming with some challenges. And we'll be hearing from you in terms of, how things are going. But first off, for MacDonald College, let's look at MacDonald College in particular. How has the pandemic affected the school in so far as participation in sports, staging sports, and looking forward to 2021? Let's look at 2020, how it affected the MacDonald College.
Before we start looking at the challenges, though, I must correct you, because at the start of the program, it seems like you are not certain of my portfolio as a sportsman at MacDonald College. I must let you. Yeah, I must let the public know that over the years I was the sports coordinator.
Right. Yeah.
So I was person directly responsible for the intercall team. I was the manager of the intercall team.
Well, I was kind of juggling with some of the things, and I didn't want to start calling things, and then I will leave out. But I know you were, as I said, directly involved. I think it.
No, I would call them. I would call them before we start. So I was a cricket coach, as well as the coach of the junior football team, and I was still a regular teacher.
Okay.
So that was my role in sports at MacDonald College.
Yeah, quite all round in particular. Yeah. So how that? Well, seeing as you were all that, so you would have known how that would have affected MacDonald College in terms of sports in 2020.
Well, as we speak, everything in the air is COVID-19. COVID-19 is in the air, and I'm telling you, we are greatly affected by that, because coming to the end of last term, which is the first term, things were looking up. And I already spoke to a few principals, and to me, it was possible for we to have athletics, have a sports day this year. And we went as far as planning to say, okay, Because of the contact time loss, we should be able to have at least a road race or a road relay or such. And I know some secondary school had that. They had at least cross country or road race. And I also thought about foregoing the field events, the jumps and the throws. So at least we have one day of heats and the next day of track, pure track. So we have a sports with only track events this year. And so we went into the Christmas holidays with those things in mind, thinking that when we return in January, we should be able to host a sports meet, adhering to the protocols because in speaking with other persons, they were telling me that chances are we'd have to get permission with regards to the crowd. And my take on that is that even though the crowd were not allowed to come to the sports, I think it is extremely important for our kids to get a chance to participate. But lo and behold, you know how we started the year, and it seemed like all these plans gone away.
So now what is the, as you say, we started the year and then we saw that in school in particular being affected in terms of reopening and, as you said, some of the protocols, etc. So what is now the thinking of yourself and other principals in what you're all planning to do for 2021?
Right now, from where I sit, we are not thinking anything about that because all the main thing on the front burner for us right now is to get the kids back to school. We opened school last week, January the 4th, and for the entire week we are only the teachers were able to attend school. This week, Monday, the 11th of January, we return to school, but as we speak, we're only hosting the Form 5s. So the Form 5s are here, and come Monday the 14th, Monday the 18th, we'll be able to host the Form 5 and the 4s and the Form 3s. So sports is one of the farthest things away from my mind right now. And I'm really concerned about that because what I realize is that because of the industrial action and COVID last year, we have some kids who are now in Form 3, about to go into Form 4. And they did not have any season. They did not have any sports there. So chances are these kids may spend 4 or 5 years in school and they never get a chance to participate or even spectate in a sports.
Yeah, well, I heard that from a parent some time ago, and after thinking about it, it didn't sound so real. But after thinking about it, and now that you're confirming that, and looking back at what has happened over the past 2-3 years, it appears that some will even go into Form 4 and and probably Form 5 without participating. But how serious you think such will be affecting McDonald College and other secondary schools, and your background as someone who has been directly involved in sports and not just track and field, cricket and football and all these things. And while we may, use track and field as an example, you're seeing that other sporting disciplines like cricket and football also being affected as well.
Personally, the ramifications of that, I don't want to think about it because so we have a couple of kids come from the primary school. They haven't received any opportunity to participate. Even last year, even for 2020, 2019, a lot of the kids who come to school have great potential. They are winners of the primary school sports. So I'm very, very concerned about that where the athletics is concerned. The football, by now you know that the last time the football was held, which is 2019, we are the champions. As we speak, we are the 4-pitch champions. Last year we were prepared to make it 5 in a row.
Well, I know we have to come to we must come to that,
Right, and you know what happened. Long today, I'm speaking to a young man at school, Devon Smith, who is the nephew of Devon Smith, and he's telling me that he's selected for a pre-trial for the West Indies under-19 team, and I'm asking myself, what preparations is he having going into a pre-camp to make the West Indies under-19 team? because we don't have any cricket. No cricket is playing. So I am telling you, I'm really, really concerned because I see the effects of the COVID and the other grievances. It will send back sports a lot. In nearly all secondary schools in Grenada, the standard would drop, and it would be very, very difficult for us to recover. Although I'm confident we will recover because it's not the first time they will have a pandemic. But what I noticed also, and I'm telling you, I'm a history teacher. When I was in the classroom, I used to teach history. The last world pandemic was in 2018, 1918, 1920, which is over 100 years ago. So there's no blueprint to follow. Nobody of our generation could ever give any significant contribution regarding how do we cope with something like that. But I would say we just have to be steadfast. I think in all the sport though, the one that may recover the fastest is football. Because last year down to as late as December, we still had the under-19, the under-15 GFA tournaments being played. So the football is okay, but the cricket and the athletics, we'll have a serious, we must do some introspection. And talking about principals level as well as the GA, some introspection must be done to plot the way forward when and if COVID is over.
Yeah, because I know there's serious talk about, let's look, for example, at the Carifta Games taking place in 2021, albeit it may be later in the year, not the usual Easter, But even with that, sharing your concerns in terms of preparations, how do the athletes get to prepare themselves to, one, school sports, and then on the larger scale, the intersecondary school, and for possible selection, etc. But as you indicated, because a lot of the students who attend secondary schools in the parish of St. Patrick, they get the opportunity to play in football, senior level football, that meaning outside representing the various clubs in the parish. You don't see football being affected so much in terms of development, okay? But and as we said, McDonald College, who has been aiming for what, 5 straight years?
Yes, 5 straight years.
There goes the smile, Yeah, 5 straight years. We know how much their participation in club football has been assisting the school. Something I want you to talk about as well.
Yes, one of your previous programs, I highlighted to you the number of playing fields we have in St. Patrick.
Yeah.
Right, and I am telling you, just for this afternoon alone, when I came out from the gym a while ago, and we have a lot of children playing at Mali Pasture. We have the 4 recreation ground. There's a new playing field close to the multipurpose. You know the multipurpose in St. Patrick?
Yeah, the multipurpose center.
Right, the multipurpose. There's Tam CC there right now. There's a new playing field there. And I'm telling you, every single day of the week, Sunday to Sunday, we have kids playing there. So a lot of participation. And what I noticed about football though, football, yes, it's technical, but it's very, very easy for kids to develop on their own. Where athletics is concerned, you need good coaching, you need someone to guide you regarding your technique and such. So because of that, as I said, the cricket will be affected as well as the athletics. We also have a history in St. Patrick's of a lot of clubs. As we speak, we have at least 6 GFA clubs. And a lot of the times, the kids will leave from the villages, they go into the clubs, then they come into the school. Mm-hmm. Right now, one of our top players, he's doing final preparations to go on a football scholarship to the United States. That's Mr. Brady Charles. So football is in a good place. It's a very, very, very good place in St. Patrick. But as I said, the athletics, and as an athletic coach, I don't know if you know that also, but I'm IAF certified athletics.
Well, no, I know you have been. I know you have been around athletics for quite a while. Not just even as an official as well. And through the GUT and all of that. But again, the whole issue, and you made that point, and I think it's something we need to reiterate in terms of how you see what you have been highlighting affecting the psyche and the development, and even as you indicated, some of the opportunities for the boys and girls, sportsmen, sportswomen, of in your case of McDonald College.
You see, the athletics, the best training for athletics is competition.
Yeah.
So what you find happening, you train, we have the preparation phase, but you train and you compete. And when athletes get a chance to compete, they have a very good idea of where they are. And in speaking with Mr. Glynn over the years, who is still our senior coach, he said to me, athletics is something, it's very, very easy for you to lose it. So if a kid did not participate for at least 2 years, when they come back into competition, they have to make up of 2 years work before they really come to the level they're at. So I must say the only person who is training right now is CC Charles. She's still training as we speak, but she's no longer a student of McDonald College. She's attending TAMCC at the moment, and she's the only one who is training. Most of the other kids, it's very difficult to get them to motivate to train because they would ask you, what are we training for? Do we have sports? And I cannot answer that.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I'm talking about the challenges you folks are facing now with so many uncertainties. But if I may ask you, have you been thinking of a possible plan B or even plan C?
You mean for hosting a sports meet?
Well, not just hosting a sports meet, but something to get your students engaged, whether it's at the school level, whether it's among couple schools in the parish or neighboring parishes, something for some level of engagement. As I said, plan B, plan C.
You see, plan B, plan C, all that still depend on the protocols. It's like life in Grenada, Mr. Bascom, is like on a daily basis, our life is being guided by the protocols. So sometimes we have to manage our expectations well because you might find we come up with a plan and when we put it to the authorities based on the protocols, they tell you it's not possible. Because the plan I had initially was, as I said, to have hits and have a track day just for the students.
And what's so what's the problem with having something just for the students? Are you saying that based on the protocols, it's not possible to have something like that?
Right. So as I said, we ended last year. We were able to have our graduation and such. We had our graduation in November. Things were looking up, but I know how we started the year. We started the year where initially we couldn't have gatherings of more than 10 persons. And that was changed. Right now, we could have gathering of 20 persons or so. So I'm not saying it's still possible because a lot depends on what transpires within the next few months because normally we have our sports in March. And if the number of our active cases have decreased, and we could send a proposal to the Ministry of Health as well as the Ministry of Education, it is possible for we to have a track day for our kids. But you talk about engagement with other schools. Personally, I don't see that happening within this 2021.
And reasons being, you dare give reasons why you don't see that happening in 2021?
We come back to the protocols. Because you see, Mr. Bascom, you know, Grenadians have passion. We are very, very passionate about sports and very passionate about athletics. And as we speak, the public is really, really starved for those sorts of things. And based on the COVID situation, I don't even think the authorities will take the chance to give you permission to have our schools because persons will come out far and wide. Because we are starved. 2019, we didn't really have the real thing. 2020, because of COVID and still industrial action, we are not able to have intercal and such. So in 2021, any sports that you have in at all, it will be very, very difficult to keep away a crowd from that.
Well, you know, sorry to hear all of that, but something I wanted to speak to you about is that you touch a little on the McDonald College's, quest in terms of football. And over the years, we have seen McDonald College not just in football, we have seen it in track and field. Don't forget netball as well. Yeah, as I said, some cricket, had been making its strides in various places. And, and to some extent been achieving. And when you look at some of the outstanding sportsmen and sportswomen, I think McDonald College would have, laid claim to some of these, top footballers, cricketers, as you indicated, some who have just passed through the school in terms of graduated, etc. So McDonald College in itself can lay claim to a cadre of outstanding sportsmen and sportswomen who have represented Grenada, over the years.
Grenada, don't forget to add West Indies.
Well, yeah, and through Grenada, they have been, moved up, to the regional, as in the case of West Indies, etc. But let's look at the breadth of participation and accomplishments of McDonald College, especially in sports over the years. I may not be able to call all the names. I've been thinking over the past 2 days, I've been trying to think about some of the names of, past outstanding men and women of McDonald College. And I think I'm falling short because every time a name comes up, another one. You wish to give us some of those persons who would have made McDonald College so proud, that probably their names are, inscribed in the halls of the institution?
When you ask that, it might be easier to do it sport by sport.
Well, probably that may be a better fix, I think.
Yes, you might be able to do it sport by sport. But when we talk about athletics, the top of the list would be persons like Ronald Bartholomew, who went in the World Championships, and we know he had the potential to get a Olympic as well as a world medal. But after 2011, he got injured, and I must say he never recovered from that. So we have Ronald Bartholomew, we have Arnold Mitchell, Marcus Julian, as well as Jenner Paul, who had a gold medal at Carifta.
But and just to indicate, you mentioned Marcus Julian, but we also have to say Marcus Julian, the footballer, as well as the track athlete, right?
As well as the cricketer.
And cricketer as well.
Yes, yeah. as well as the cricketer. But so I talk about persons like of Marcus, Jenner Paul, and Sharon Merriman. These three guys, for the last 30 years or so, they are the best sportsmen who have passed through McDonald College. Marcus Julian, Jenner Paul, Sharon Merriman, and I would add Miguel Warwood to that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they represented the school as well as at the national level in various sports. So showing basketball, cricket, as well as football. And everybody know the exploit of Marcus as well as Jenner Paul. Also, what I've realized over the years, though, we have a knack, or St. Patrick's in general, because most of our sportsmen in St. Patrick, they are multi-talented. They play both cricket, football, and they do some athletics. So if we categorize in sports people in terms of well-roundedness, the four guys I've just called, without a doubt, they are written deep in the annals of McDonald College history. Then we go on to people like Devon Smith. Devon Smith played for the West Indies, but he was also an excellent footballer. But initially the clash between football and cricket, he chose cricket and he went on to go at the highest level. Devon Smith had an opportunity to go to Hungary on a football scholarship, but eventually he was encouraged by the then Minister of Sports, Mr. Adrian Mitchell, to focus on cricket. But I know Devon could have walked into a senior national team easily. Then we have Miss Letitia Keto, who went on to play for the West Indies netball team She also had a professional contract in Scotland playing netball. So, persons tend to ask why, for what is the main reason why the school continue to produce such talented athletes? But we were from the country, Mr. Bascom. We are from the country. And what you find out, our strength and athleticism is natural. A lot of our kids, they always they go to the garden. Some of them, based on where they live, they have to tote water long distances. And that goes a long way compared to some of our esteemed neighbors in the south who have life relatively easy. And they have all the big academies and such. But our kids are very, very natural.
Well, I don't mind me smiling because if I may tell you that I also had the, as you say, the life, in the countryside as well, because Mali was my area where Mali and St. Patrick, was my area where I used to be I spend my entire vacation. So I specifically, and my extended family, they have the Dubois and they have claim to McDonald College as well. So I know specifically, what it is.
I never knew that. That's news to me. That's news to me.
It is Alistair Dubois and Company. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So now.
Yeah. Yes, I know. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So Mali and St. Patrick. Yeah.
So the country life is outdoor life, and I'm telling you, students, since I'm a child, I would never trade it. Never trade country life for life in the town. Town is a place I see where I would go get whatsoever I want, and I would come back home. Because of that, I even had no desire to work in St. George. As I went to my first experience in St. George as a student was when I went to IFE. That's in 1986. Myself, like people and Scholar and Lester Smith and others. And after traveling for 3 years on our buses, since then I vowed I don't want to work in St. George's. I love the country. I will stay in the country until I die.
That's a bold statement, but
definitely is a bold statement.
Yeah, but I understand. But and just looking at some of the comments, I wanted to get some of the comments there from some of the folks, because they were making the point that and you mentioned Devon Smith, for example. Theo Duncan is saying that so true. Devon and his brothers could play football as well, and as you know, Devon, not just a cricketer, but he also played national football as well. And we have quite a number of folks who would have doubled on national teams, both football, cricket, or even track and field to some extent. Some three sports. It was said that is only back in the 60s and the 70s and probably to the 80s you'll find some of these folks, play national football, cricket, and probably a track, all rounders, as you say, in terms of sports. But we're seeing that, even current, we've seen some of those talents where those guys are getting the opportunity, guys and girls, I should say, getting the opportunity where they can double up and sometimes triple in terms of their participation in sporting disciplines. And as you indicated, McDonald College has provided its fair share. And you mentioned netball, and you mentioned Letitia Cato. I think her sister also played netball as well as football, national netball as well as football.
But you see, even when you talk about netball, we go back to Katian Williams Gabriel,
who's also a national coach, right?
Right, she's also a national coach. She also played for West Indies. Although you will make somebody vex with me, because when you start to call names, you'll always tend to forget someone. But you talk about the 60s, and my mind just went on the late Trevor Friday, Dr. Trevor Friday. Are you aware that he was one of our founding students when the school started in 1963?
Oh,
Sebastian?
Well, I'm listening. I'm hearing.
Yes, Dr. Trevor Friday. When our school started on the 21st of January, next week is our anniversary, 1963. He was one of our founding students because his father, Wellington Friday,
he
was our first. Yes, he was our first principal. And Trevor Friday, he played football also, and he has the distinction of defeating Hazley Crawford in 100 meters at Queen's Park. You know that? You're supposed to know that.
Oh yeah, well we heard about that already. Yeah.
Although I realized that there was a school in the south who always tend to claim Dr. Friday as part of the alma mater.
Well, while we're on that, I don't know if it's because some of the schools would have shared the students, as in the case I recall on Saturday, the same comment was being made by Mr.
Julian?
Cresswell Julian in terms of
Yes.
Raw Lewis, because
Yes.
Raw attended SAS and then he went to GBSS, So in some extent, I think it may be correct that they would have claimed that, because in the case of Merriman, for example, after McDonald College, he went on to St. John's Christian Secondary School.
That time he was a complete package.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about Friday. Dr. Trevor Friday, he went to GBSS, but as a sixth form student. You see, in those times, the IFE did not exist. And some schools had sixth form while others did not. So a lot of the students, when they graduated from secondary school, they have to go to another school so that they could attend sixth form. So that's the reason why he ended up at GBSS.
Okay, yeah. Right. I wanted us to stay on the topic of some of the outstanding sportsmen and sportswomen of McDonald College. I think sometimes we get distracted, and as you said, particular schools, etc. But when it comes to the parish of St. Patrick, McDonald College would have provided its fair share of accomplishments, I should say. And as you indicated, the late Dr. Trevor Friday, which would have slipped me, no doubt. Also, his late father, also Dr. Wellington Friday. And then the whole issue of when we started with the intercall, and I've noticed that the girls of McDonald College outpaced the boys in terms of winning championships at the intercall. I think the girls would have won more titles at the track and field, intercall track and field, than the boys. I see where they would have won back-to-back in terms. No, sorry, I have it wrong. The boys outpaced the girls. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. The boys outpaced the girls. Where in 2003, when they won the intercall championship, that's the boys. Yeah, I'm making the correction. The boys won in 2003, and then there was a shared title with the GBSS in 2004. And then there was no declared champions in 2005.
That's because of Ivan.
Right, because of the hurricane. Yes, because of the hurricane, etc. And then 2006, it was again McDonald College. So in effect, 2006 and 2007, I should say, in effect, McDonald College had what you can say a straight. 2003, 2004, no championship in 2005, and then they won back-to-back in 2006 and 2007. Okay? Why there was this, in terms of the boys and the girls not living up, even though during those years we have seen that there were some very talented athletes of the McDonald College in the girls division?
Very, very interesting question. But I must say that when I started to teach at McDonald College in 1990, our girls were way ahead of the boys in terms of performance.
Performance, yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were doing well. 1995 come to mind. 1995, collectively, that was one of our best years. We came second in the girls, and we came second in the boys. And in the boys division, we defeated a certain school. And we were very, very happy because we defeated a certain school. And in that time, we were not even thinking about championship, because as far as we were concerned, it's just a matter of going down to the Queen's Park in those days and giving it our best. So we continued for many years. We will come second behind Anakin High. Sometimes we come second behind St. David's, and we are satisfied with that. In 2002, Mr. Adrian Mitchell, Minister of Sports, he came to our sports meet, and during the meet, he said to us, myself and Scholar, he said to us, This year, you all could win the girls' championship at Intercal. And we commented to him, Mr. Mitchell, you're crazy. We cannot win Intercal. He said, listen to me, I've been to all the major sports so far, and you all could win Intercal. Personally, we don't really bother with him because we never put ourselves at that level. We know we'll go and compete. We might come second, we'll come third, and we're happy with that. So we went down to the stadium that year. But coincidentally, that year there was a bus strike also. So we jumped very, very, very late. The buses that we hired, they didn't come to pick up the kids, so we jumped the stadium late. And in that year, 2002, I think we still had a girls there and a boys there.
2002, yes.
Right. So we came down to the stadium and the intercall starts. And we're in front. Halfway through, we're in front. Relays about starting. We're still in lead. And we still don't think that we have a chance of winning. That championship, Mr. Bascom, St. David's Sec won the girls' championship in 2002. And we came second. We lost by 8 points. And what we realized is that when we come back home, we lost 8 points. We were disqualified in the sub-junior girls really. Where we should at least come first or second. And Mr. Bascom, that was an eye-opener for me, personally. That was an eye-opener for me. So I came back home and I started to go back, retract. I said, Mr. Mitchell told us we could win. We doubted him, we doubted ourselves. And now we go down to St. George's and we lost by 8 points. At that stage, Mr. Bascom, we had no structure. We had no structure for sports at Malvern College. So Mr. Glynn, he retired a few years ago. Intercal, he's the coach, he's the manager, he's the physio, responsible for the food, every single thing. So I came home and I started to think. But coincidentally also, I went to Teachers College in 1999. 99, 2000, I spent at Grenada Teachers College. And during my tenure at the Teachers College, I was in some esteemed company of some teachers who very successful at Intercal. And in chatting with them, they were telling me things like Intercal, they have specialization and they have a sports committee and what. And the Friday after Intercal, I went back to the school and I said to Mr. Jeffrey, we need to form a sports committee. So the sports committee was formed in Magna College in 2002. And the main purpose of the sports committee was to put a structure in place so our girls could win Intercal. We're still not thinking about the boys because our girls always come in close. So we put a structure in place, sports coordinator. Eventually, give me the title, I was sports coordinator. And scholar and a few other teachers, sporting enthusiasts, they form part of that committee. And so in 2002, 2003, we have our structure in place to win Intercal. And the rest is history. 2003, the boys won for the first time, and the girls came second. But what we realized is that from the time the boys started to do well, the interest of the girls started waning. And after a while, the girls decided they would play a spectator mass. So the boys would win and they would jump up.
Yeah.
Well, and go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Right. So, and we keep on building on that. We keep on building on that. And what we notice also, success breeds success.
Right.
So after a while, we started getting students. And we always have a wide range of students, but we get students from St. Andrew as far as Marquis, and we're getting students from even St. John's. And I remember a young lady from St. John who was a very good athlete, student of Magna College. I said to her one day, why did you come to Magna College? You're from Guelph, we have Shaper, we have St. Rose, and we still have St. Mark's on the way up.
Right.
And you know what she said to me? Mr. Andall, let us win Intercollege. I want to go to a successful school.
Yeah.
So we were able to build on that. And as I'm telling you, We build on that and we build on that well, because after a while, myself and Scholar, we'll spend hours on the phone analyzing all the schools in Grenada. All the schools. We'll attend some sports meet. The meet we don't attend, we listen to all sports news, Channel 6, GBN, MTV. We read all the newspapers. And I would call him, I would say, Scholar, you know that school have a good sub-junior or that school have a good junior. So when we go down to Intercom, we could tell our athletes who is the competition. We are able to give them back data. Who is the competition? This is where we're weak and this is where we're strong. And that worked for us well. It worked as a champ.
Okay. Good to know, you know, how you strategize, you know. And the question now is that as part of this strategizing, do the McDonald College, you know, engage in scouting, as how some schools do, you know, active scouting of talents? I know you said about, you know, looking at athletes, their performances and things like that. So, but I'm talking about scouting even from the primary schools. You know, it's just McDonald College and you know, the Grenada Seventh-day Adventist Comprehensive in the parish of St. Patrick. You know, but so many primary schools, and now you said that you have, you know, those who come in all the way from the parish of St. John and St. Andrew, no doubt, because of proximity with St. Andrew. But do the school, McDonald College itself, actively engage in scouting of talents around the island?
You're talking about now or then? What are you referring to?
Even up to this current time, you know.
Well, as we speak, scouting is very, very important right now. Mm-hmm. Although we have a policy, we would scout, we identify talent, and we would approach. But if you get too combative, we'll just back out. Because what we have realized over the years with experience is that when you scout kids, you have to be very, very careful how you handle them. Because after a while, some of the kids, if you express too much interest, they put themselves up on a pedestal. And I've seen cases where scouting taking place, you have competition between schools, and eventually that athlete just fall by the way because they get swell head. So we would approach and we try our best to stay within the parish as much as possible.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, well, good to know. And you mentioned Mr. Glean by passing recently, Mr. Neville Glean, who I've been trying to get on the program because Mr. Glean, no doubt, has contributed quite a lot, not just McDonald College, but to St. Patrick and to Grenada. But the but here is that Mr. Glean is the type. He is what you call the quiet soldier. You know, he doesn't like to speak too much on his accomplishments and what he has done, etc., etc. He just likes, I think he likes to see those athletes in front, you know, unlike some others who like to be in front and the athletes behind. He likes to see them in front. But he has been, no doubt Mr. Glean has been like the lifeline of coaching in the parish, especially coaching track and field in the parish of St. Patrick.
You should be aware that Mr. Glynn career as a coach started at SAS. He was a teacher at SAS. When SAS won the first intercall, Mr. Glynn was a coach also at SAS. And then he told me he took the decision to get a transfer to come to McDonald College. And without a doubt, Mr. Bascom, he's one of our best coaches. He is one of our best coaches. He's versatile. I could call a long list of athletes who he had trained who went on to win at Carifta. And we're talking about from like sprinters to the jumpers as well as the middle and the long distances.
Yeah.
He's my inspiration because after a while, many years ago, I was the vice principal. And when I sit down and I assess it, look at Mr. Glenn's age. I think he's over 80 at the moment. I told myself, no, we cannot allow Mr. Glenn to die with this knowledge. So then I started on my own and started my best to understudy him. Eventually, I went and get certified. But now now that I became principal, it's very, very difficult to kind of focus on one area, because if you're the leader and you focus on any one specific area, then other areas would suffer. But without a doubt, he's our best coach in the island. And you could be, I guess you've seen that in some of the comments also. You have persons like Kotlin and Sharon Merriman.
Yeah, well, I
Who,
just I just realized that they
yes,
probably would have been the product of Mr.
yes, they
Green
are.
himself, huh?
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
And I know someone like even Rondell Bartholomew speaks highly of Mr. Glean, even when as a professional athlete, he listens, he will listen to Mr. Glean. I believe Mr. Glean probably provided him with a program because he listens to him. He always, I speak to Rondell from time to time, and he will speak of Mr. Glean highly.
What is interesting, Rondell told me recently that when he went to the United States and he started following the program of the coach up there, he tell himself, wait now, Mr. Glean and that man doing the same thing. You understand? Because he said the program they have, he had it with his coach in the United States was very, very similar to the program Mr. Glean having here. But while I'm calling outstanding person, I must mention persons like Nilon Joseph. Remember Nilon Joseph?
Yes, Nilon, yeah.
Right, we won the 8, the 15, and the 3000. In 2005, he had a double gold medal at Carifta. That's at Trinidad. He was a very outstanding athlete also. We have persons like Stephanie Ferguson. And Mr. Glenn also coached Geraldine Maxwell. Even though she was not a student of Magdalene College, she attended St. Mark's, where she was also one of the persons who coached, and she was able to go on to win at Carifta.
Yeah. Well, when all is said and done, my hope is that Mr. Glean will be honored. And I like when people are honored and recognized before they depart this godly earth, And if there's one thing I think that MacDonald College, the parish of St. Patrick, can do for Mr. Glean is at least some sort of, official recognition. He has done quite a lot for track and field and coaching, because his style and what he brings to coaching is something I think that can be emulated in whatever discipline, sporting discipline, not just track and field, and over the years, I've seen Mr. Glean not just around track and field. I've seen him around football. I don't know if he was coaching football, but I've seen him around football during my time covering school sports. I've seen him around cricket, So it seems as if he has this thing in him about sports in particular, not just as a track and field coach, And going on to the sort of teamwork involved. You have mentioned the name Finley Jeffrey, aka Scholar, but there are quite a number of folks who I've seen around MacDonald College. Well, I haven't been in Grenada for a while now, but I've seen around MacDonald College, and some of them you may want to mention them who have been providing assistance to MacDonald College, albeit voluntary. Being around the team, whether it's football, whether it's cricket, assisting whatever way possible, whether they are teachers, whether they are former students. Who are some of those people you want to mention?
But I must start with Scholar. Myself and Scholar sometimes used to be actually a nuisance. Because as far as we're concerned, the approach is supposed to be very, very professional. So in terms of strategy, we always opt for strategy, be it football, cricket, whatsoever. Once we lose it, we'll always use some strategy. You understand? Always have option 1, 2, and 3 whatsoever. But I must mention Mr. Leslie Nicholas. Mr. Leslie Nicholas, to start with. Mr. Leslie Nicholas was a national footballer also. He played at the highest level for many years. He was the captain as well as the coach of Eagle Super Strikers. So for many, many years, he was the coach of our senior team. And he did an excellent job because persons like Miguel Warwood and Frank, Sharon Merriman, Franklin Batiste, a lot of national players came to MacDonald College and they work under the guidance of Mr. Leslie Nicholas. And after a while, Mr. Nicholas took a backseat because he had some personal issues. So then we had Mr. Jelani Glynn, who is the son of Mr. Glynn. And he played a very, very instrumental role. He was a teacher. He's a former student. He was also a teacher. And even now, when he's working at the line, and he still will give up his time to assist us with the football. Franklin Baptiste. We have Mr. Bonner George. Mr. Bonner George was one who came from Cuba in 2005. He was one of the first persons who introduced physical education as a subject in the classroom. He played a very key role also. We have Miss Vanessa Thomas, Miss Catherine King. However, what is unique about us though, a lot of the times, most of our coaches are teacher coaches. So most of the coaches in the various disciplines, they are teachers at McDonald College. And what I've realized is that tends to give us an advantage over some of the other schools. Because many times if you take a coach from the outside, the respect and the cooperation you get from the kids would be totally different if he's a regular teacher of the school. And that is an advantage. Good night, Mr. Duncan.
Well, while you are that, I want to put in something Mr. Duncan had asked short while ago regarding are there plans by Carl and others to document these successes and stalwarts from St. Patrick? And he said great stuff.
So as we speak, no, but I would have to start working on that as a historian because you and I know, because we're for African heritage, we like a lot of oral history. And the oral history is very, very difficult, very easy to get lost, and very easy to get distorted. So I would call my good partner, Mr. Scholar, and we should be able to compile something. Because I've been a teacher at McDonald College this year, will be 31 years, and Scholar has been there for 28 years or so before he went to the Ministry of Education. So very good suggestion, and I will take it. Yes, Mr. Merriman, I already told him I was a cricket coach also, who work with people like yourself and Devon Smith and many others.
Okay. So, but, I noticed Merriman is commenting, and Merriman is one who, footballer, basketballer,
go ahead.
Track and field, volleyball. I mean, I just going by the main ones, but was all rounder, and of course would have won medals in the multi events at the character games and things like that. So and whether it's a high jumper, long jumper, sprinter, just name it, he was there. And as I said, basketballer, he played volleyball, he played cricket, national football, and all these things at the highest level in terms of national representation. And no doubt McDonald College could
I know I'm trying my best to convince Mr. Merriman to come home. I want him to come. I want him to come home because I need him to speak to our students. But when he make up his mind, no matter what time of the year he come, I would engage him because you see, when Sherwin came to school, I myself was a young teacher. I started teaching at the age of 19. And Merriman may come just a year or two after that. And I'm telling you, the only sport Sherwin could not play is the one that was not invented as yet. Because I remember a time.
Well, let me say, he didn't play netball because at the time it was mainly for.
Well, he could play netball. If you had made
netball, I know he could play netball. I'm
just
saying he didn't play it at the time,
Yes, I remember a time sitting home and I heard Mr. Sambat Harbin, the announcer, a national under 15 team. So I called Mr. Harbin, who was my very close friend at the time, and I said, Mr. Harbin, you already have under 15 team? He said yes. I said, well, I have a young man who's a fast bowler, and I know without a doubt he could make the team. And I want to give you an opportunity. He said, send him down. Send Sherwin. Sherwin may bowl a few balls. Sambat called me and he said, yeah, well, I get a fast bowler. And that was it. Just like that, Sherwin went straight on to the national team, the under 15 team. But one of the problems Sherwin had, which is similar to Marcus, they could play too much sports.
Mm.
They were so good in the various sports that it was like, to me, if they had the opportunity to focus on one or two, the sky was the limit. But he, pong for pong, Sherwin, Marcus, and Jenard Paul.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, Jenard Paul had a gold medal in character in the long jump. He played national football. He represented the Windward Islands in cricket at the under 19 level. You understand? He eventually, he went on a long jump scholarship. But yet still, he had one of the bigger shows for Grenada and javelin. And he won gold medal at Intercal also in the high jump. Then we have another young man from St. Andrew. That's Mr. Kwame Andrew. He was not multi-talented like the others in terms of the sporting disciplines. But I remember one year, he scored 36 points at Intercal. And we're talking about when Intercal is not like today. You get 6, 4, 2-on-1. And Kwame scored more than 30 points at Intercal because he participated in the long jump, the high jump, the triple jump, the javelin, and the shot put and the discus as a junior. So we are blessed. And something that we tend to do, and many persons don't understand that. In school, you always have your customs and your practices. This is something you inculcate in the new students. So formally as well as informally, you chat with the students and let them know what has gone before them. And that is sort of as a kind of encouragement for them to emulate these persons. But we have a very rich history and something which we are very proud of.
Well, as Roger indicated, someone has to take on that task of documenting, and I think just as those scholar is good at writing, we have to get scholar, to start documenting the rich history and successes, particularly sports of the McDonald College. And I think the idea too, and as we started this program, was to bring this to the fore. And I think to an extent, it will bring the conversation to a national level if we can get, just as all Mr. Julian has agreed to start something with the St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School, SAS. Mr. Ashby, though, has been a bit timid, but has somewhat agreed for the GBSS. I think McDonald College has. And then, there's something that can bring something to a national level, because at the schools, I think it's important that you folks document the history of the school and be zeroing in on sports in particular, because that's what this program is about. Because, every time we speak to someone, we getting to know something, something new, something interesting, something about someone. And I think it is wise to start some sort of documentation, and it's becoming a bit easier now with digital files and all these things, so that other new students, prospective students, can research and find things about the school and what they have accomplished over the years. It would be interesting to know probably who would have won the first medal for McDonald College at the Intersecondary School Championships at Intercall. All these things are very interesting things, and I think it's something that Mr. Andall, yourself, and Scholar and others as a project.
Scholar without a doubt.
Without a doubt, yeah.
I listened to you and Mr. Julian last week, and he told you about Jeffrey Neptune. Jeffrey Neptune.
Yeah.
Are you aware that in 1987, the Institute for Further Education, IFE, we had plans to win Intercal? You aware of that?
You mean IFE had plans to win Intercal?
Yes, in 1987.
Oh, well, IFE, well, now the TMR should come to college before.
Yes, in 1987, IFE was still allowed to participate at Intercal.
Intercal, yeah.
We had athletes like Wayne Wagiti Redhead.
Yeah.
We had athletes like Marky Griffith from River Road. You must know Marky.
Yeah, Marky and I, yeah.
Right, Marky Griffith. We had Jeffrey Neptune.
Yeah.
And many others. So the plan was we would dominate the senior division. We would win everything in the senior division, the shows, the jumps.
I know we're running out of time, but do you wish to tell me, and well, not so much me, do you wish to tell the viewers and the listeners why that plan fell through?
Well, the person who we expected to get at least 30 points for us, Mr. Jeffrey Neptune, he pulled up in the hits. 100-meter senior boys he hits. He had a hamstring injury, and that just derailed the plans. Good night, Mr. Griffith.
yeah. He said I was on the team. We became very close.
Yes. That derailed all the plans because the plan was Jeffrey should win the 1, the 2, the long jump, and even though when he got injured, he still went on to win the discus. Yes. So that's the plan was derailed then. But even Wagiti, all of them, they were very, very good athletes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting in that I'll probably give you a little bonus because we still have to wrap up. But it's interesting in terms of how the role the then IFE National College and now TAMCC had played in terms of the development and pooling these various sportsmen and sportswomen from the various schools. But you as a principal of a secondary school, and you would have seen so many of your talented athletes, and by the way, when I say athletes, I refer overall, whether it's football, netball, cricket, whatever, graduated from your institution, and then to some extent the sporting ambitions have ended because of the lack thereof sporting structure at the T.A. Marshall Community College, or active participation by in terms of sports at the T.A. Marshall Community College. As a principal of a secondary school, what are your thoughts about this in terms of the student athletes and their involvement at the T.A. Marshall Community College?
T.A. Marshall, just recently, about 2 years ago, at the secondary school principals, a proposal came on board to allow the student athletes of the T.A. Marshall Community College to participate at Intercom. And that was shut down. And I was really, really disappointed in that because I've realized is that some secondary schools, imagine, a child is a student at your school just a few months ago, but because they move on to T.A. Marshall Community College, you're telling yourself, if they are allowed to participate, that will put you at a disadvantage. And I'm telling you, I didn't really see much, but I was really, really disappointed in that. And hence, it's difficult. You see, for athletes to do well, they need atmosphere, they need ambience, they need crowd. Because without a doubt, if T.A. Marshall community students are allowed to participate at Intercom, they would be very, very motivated to train. So at the secondary level, some of the principals, they must change their mentality and look at the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about your school winning. The law for athletics shouldn't be just your school win, your school win, your school win. Because I'm telling you, Mr. Bascom, there's hardly any outstanding athlete that came through for the last 30 years that I don't know about. And it don't really matter what school they come from. Mr. Griffith, we didn't lose the relay, Why did you sell the relay for Shaper?
I have to remember that for when Wagiti comes on the program.
Yes, make sure you tell him that. It's solely related to Shaper. Let them pass because that time, remember, Shaper was very, very close.
Yeah.
So solely really. Tell him I see that. But on a serious note, Mr. Bascom, I think I'm in a very good position to make a difference because you see, I've walked the walk, I have talked the talk. And as much as possible, you see, at Magdalen College, we try our best to cater for all our students. Our mission statement is we want to provide a holistic education. I will not call names, but I'm telling you without a doubt, I've seen persons who went on to make millions because of sport. Right. And I don't think we should be deprived them. So what I try to inculcate in our students is that as early as possible, you find out where you're good at and you focus there. The world is how it is today because we have people of different talents, different abilities. We have mechanics, we have the doctors, we have the lawyers, we have the sports people. And everybody is equally important, one way or the other. So that is my drive, that is my passion to ensure that all students who come to the world, they get an equal opportunity to do something for themselves in this world.
Okay. All right, and on the final point now, I say I'll give you a bonus. On the final point, you earlier you mentioned the whole issue of student athletes in particular having to make that decision. And as you indicated, someone like Sharon Merriman, for example, and Marcus Julian, you use those two examples in terms of they're so talented, that would have been, their disadvantage because they're so talented in all these sporting disciplines. In the case, as we use Junior Murray, for example, as he indicated in his when we did the program some time ago, the folks who like Mr. Victor Ashby and the late Kenny Hobson, encourage him to make a decision. Obviously, he made that decision in terms of cricket, and he became a West Indies cricketer because he was talented both in cricket and football. Okay, we have Devon Smith, talented again, representing both cricket and football at the national level. He made that decision that he will stick with cricket, even though when he gets the chance, he will play football. But what sort of advice would you have for the young ones, and in particular the parents of young ones who can see the talents in, whether it's in swimming and tennis, various sporting disciplines, in terms of there comes a time when they'll have to make a decision, especially when they reach that level, because sometimes you want to give them the opportunity to, exhaust their true potential, but at what stage you think they will have to make that decision as whether they stick with one sport or whether they continue with at least two, something to that extent.
Something I just said that is correct. You must give them the opportunity when they are young. You must give them the opportunity to play all, to explore most. But you see, Devon's decision was very, very easy. Devon, at the age of 17, Devon made the national senior team at the age of 15, cricket team. By the age of 16, he went on to Grenada Islands senior cricket team. And by the age of 17, he was a member of the West Indies B team who played against India when they toured the Caribbean. So Devon's decision was easy. And strangely with Devon, even though he made the decision to play cricket for many, many years, he still used to play football at the Premier level for Hard Rock. So it's difficult. And sometimes you have a tussle between school and community. Because you see, you're looking at the sport and you're looking at the long-term development of the child. And persons in the community, let's say local team, club teams in the community, whatsoever advice you give, they might be going against that because they're telling themselves you're denying them from a star, an outstanding player. So it's really, really hard. But even Murray's decision was not so difficult because I know Murray as a goalkeeper. So you had football and cricket. But Marcus and Shaw, when you have the football, the cricket, the athletics, basketball, on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much for that company this evening. And of course, it's always a pleasure having you, the enlightenment you bring to the program, the knowledge, and I'm looking forward to you being on the program in the future, though it will be in a different capacity because I know from time to time you come on and share your views on that. But I'm really hoping that there could be, on a serious note, there could be something for our student athletes in 2021. Limited though, but something at least that they can get some sort of engagement. I agree that we have to adhere to the protocols. It's for their safety, etc. But somehow there could be something. If you keep working, tweaking it, there could be something, especially for your athletes.
I want to close on that note, though. Perhaps it was a very good thing we did not have primary school sports in 2020 and 2019.
Why?
Because a lot of the persons who do a lot of scouting, they were not aware of some of the talents we had at the primary school.
Oh.
So as we speak, I have a lot of guys in Form 1 I'm ready to unleash.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm ready to unleash on the nation because they did not compete in 2019 or 2020. So a lot of persons are not aware of them. But by the grace of God, I think we'll pull through. The good thing about the young men, though, even though they are athletes, they are playing a lot of football. And what Mr. Glenn told me, once you're active, you're constantly active, eventually you won't lose much. We really have to be concerned about is the young ladies. Because you know the young ladies, they don't really play as much as the boys. But by the grace of God, as you say, any day I get the protocol and they tell me we could go ahead, yes, Madonna College will have sports in 2021.
Okay. Well, that's a confident way to end the program. I thank you very much again, Mr. Andall. And, live from the historical parish of St. Patrick, my adopted parish, no doubt. Yeah, I want to thank you.
You see the crest? Look at the crest on my chest.
Yeah, next time. Yeah.
Yeah, you see the crest?
By the way, what's the motto?
Alta Santa Ando Pitimus.
Pitimus.
From the land of the leapers.
Yeah.
We seek high things.
Right. Pitimus is what I wanted.
Yes. Alta Ando Pitimus. So have a good night, son. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, take care.
Right. So, yeah. So that's Mr. Carl Andall, the acting principal of the McDonald College. And no doubt we have learned quite a lot about the McDonald College, in particular sports, and he has always been very outspoken. And I want to thank him very much for that. Last Saturday, we had the former principal of the St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, SAS Cresswell Julian Jr. And coming up in the next few weeks, not back-to-back though, we still trying to get a schedule for some of them. We'll have other principals who will be on our program sharing some of the information. But I want to thank Mr. Andall and encourage Mr. Andall, as Roger Duncan was saying, to ensure that he can document the successes of McDonald College over the years, especially in sports. Rich history, though, just as the GBSS, the SAS, St. Joseph Convent, all the schools in particular, they need to do something so that the students can really have something that even the past students themselves can look back and reflect and, share with family and friends, Folks, just to let you know, program note, we do not have a program next Thursday. I won't be available. I'll be traveling next Thursday, so we do not have a program next Thursday, God's willing, but we do have one on Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's from 1 to 3 o'clock. We do have another in the TalkSports, in the Saturday Sports Special. I want to thank you once again for being part of our program, all the folks who have made it possible. Theo, thank you very much. You've been very active, on today. Maki, I want to thank you as well. As Theo said, what MDC we belong. Oh, Terry Frame. Terry, yes, McDonald College fame as well. Cheering on the children, yes, and some final comments there. Says, nice program, keep it up. Thank you very much, folks. You have made the program what it is, and I continue. We just will be billing it. Thank you, Mr. Benson. Great program. I've learned a lot. And thank you once again, and the invitation is yours to join us once you have the time on Saturday from 1 o'clock in the afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern time, which is 2 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time. And then the following Thursday, not next Thursday, the Thursday after that, we will be back for another in the midweek program. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you for viewing, and hope to see you on Saturday for another in the Saturday Sports program.